I have a yawn, yeah. It's contagious, so I could encourage you to yawn.
Okay, there you go. You're on.
Right.
There we go.
Mostly I want to just do some new stuff I've been working on. This is called Breaking the News. I told these two chaplains who I knew had a defined alternative idea of what my dad was up to besides being prepped for viewing. Everything that came to mind between notifying grandma and grandpa and my sister and his sisters, my aunts, and his ex, my mom, and texting the names in his phone. I told the chaplains I don't believe in anything after I held his hand for probably the first time since he helped me learn walking. No heaven, hell, life. After I had to release and his fingers grasped and I couldn't speak without crying, so waved from the nowhere OR like I would from the doorway of his condo with the same smile he'd always flash to say it's okay. As they rolled him through the flaps that opened inward and I ate food I couldn't taste and was joking about bad stand-up with a volunteer in the waiting room. And the nurse I developed rapport with the night before asked me to the hallway and tried to explain my dad isn't. And at first I felt inadequate for not falling to my knees as I sobbed and met the chaplains who helped me to their office where I was shocked how breaking the news over and over didn't feel like catching a shoddy levy in my esophagus when that's what the breaking felt like between calls. When they asked me questions I wished I had asked myself years ago, especially how is he beautiful? And I told them about the shame at wanting to kill myself when he was disabled and never complained about more than bigotry and baseball, and that everyone who knew my father was less broken for it, or at least felt like they could withstand more. And I don't know what happens when you die, but I tried to make him happy by making sure everyone else who loved him knows they still can. Asking if they were okay as if I was, embodying his otherworldly poise, calling, breaking, calling, like saying he's gone. Just right. And then he wasn't. Thanks.
Hey, I'm gonna try to go really depressing, kind of light, in that order, back and forth.
Good whips on us.
I love writing about my shitty jobs. It's at least like 30% of why I keep them. This is for real. It's great. It's great. This is called Stage Door. The assistant stage manager just asked if I have a brush. I'm bald. I have an eye roll. I haven't done a lot of eye rolls, so I think it just looks like I'm a dumb person thinking too hard. I think most eye rolls look like that. I'm the stage door guard, and it got me laid once. When she asked me why I didn't want her to stay over, I kissed her one last time and told her she has bad taste. That wasn't funny. I was informed. She thought that. Anyway, my real theory is it was a big misunderstanding. She thought we might feel better after intercourse, whereas I'm the stage door guard. My job is more or less just not to be an asshole when someone mistakes me for someone who can help. I'm not good at that. Plays seem to go very well based on audience response, but they severely miscast the stage door guard. Sometimes I get very distracted from the book I'm reading by the weight of what the job title implies. I imagine some wannabe thespian attempting to burst through the wings into the limelight to grab their 15 minutes, but I grab their ankle mid-burst and toss my book exactly below where their big head lands, so just a minimal thud unnoticed past the first row as I restrain them with my work shirt, and I'm standing there with really good abs above the intruder, and the assistant stage manager smiles coyly as she motions, I should take them outside and then come back and have sex that doesn't make either of us feel any better. She winks in a way that indicates she knows it will be bad. Sometimes I imagine I'm bursting past myself, flying through the wings, perching in a bright light strand, and all that ambient laughter and applause I can't stand when it's churning like the ocean center from my stage door shore, but now it's my second chance. My dad and my ex are in the audience. They'll be outside into the night when I lock the theater. They will hand me a bouquet of reassurances. I never played myself better. Opportunities aren't missed. You can love who you lost how you should have, whoever still exists. Yeah, people try to box me in and be like, oh, he's my dad died poet. I'm like, no, I got dumped, all right? I write about a lot of things. I have a shitty love life too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stage door junkies.
God damn it. All right. We didn't talk about the theme when I decided to be the replacement. I was like, okay, I'll do it. But then I found out it's home.
Well,
Which, yeah, you know, if you're a poet, any theme you can just say, oh, this is a metaphor for whatever.
there's a metaphor around it.
Yeah, I love you, man. You're amazing. This sort of fits, though. I think this is called Saturday's Lunch Entree. In the long-term ward, I remember no windows in the rooms, but oh, how the daylight floods with the creak of the food cart pushed in by someone whose job it is to wheel the food cart into the long-term ward at 7 a.m. Every 7 a.m., the microwave French toast smell is an alarm clock calling cuckoo, crazy people into the common space to sit around the food table and talk about the addition of strawberry to the list of pudding flavors they can order for dessert at tomorrow's lunch. Once we're with it enough, order their own lunches and discuss the menu like it's a big city front page and they are a well-American on Sunday morning. The way macaroni cheese dinner used to be Tuesday nights, but now it's Saturday's lunch entree, and mutter to the too far gone to order. And these craziest of all, through the magic of psych meds, hear the words of their breakfast neighbors, cars below. For the truly far gone are alone in the hospital room, and everyone muttering around them is that window they've been told doesn't exist. And I was the worst of all, transfixed. I touched the wall, met it with my palm to find an answer, like a hippie on acid strokes the base of a tree. If lab coat God asked, I would have said off-white, but really it was caulk-colored, and it felt like caulk, rubbery and crisp at the same time. This modern world is one big building. I guess I had fallen into one of the cracks. Guess I liked that idea and how everything smacked of poetry. On the fourth morning, I could have written every story I ever wanted to read if my clipboard-toting Lord and Savior had just given me a notepad and pen instead of the same 1 to 10 scale regarding where my death wish stands. I told him again, mine's a BART train jumper. My voluntary commitment was over, and the archangel of Big Pharma explicated I would now have to stay, whether I liked it or not, until they believed I wouldn't break out of the whole world. I'm paraphrasing. I like it, I told the St. Peter of Altabate's 7th floor, and wandered to the back of the microwave French toast line. On the 5th day, 2 friends came to visit. They laughed at the colorful milieu. I'd probably write about it. I'd probably write about the people. I said how we are still people, just like the ones sleeping in front of the hospital. One friend said it sounded like I was going to write something hella cliche, and they would still be my friend anyway. Bye. My dad visited, rolling his oxygen tank in one hand. My favorite dessert from where we used to eat and talk about the future in the other. He wasn't well enough to make it to my sister's graduation without my help. He had no framework for a disease of the will. Neither of us could muster a word. All right, back to my other topic. This is a little obtuse, so I'll just let you know. It's really about when you get dumped and then you make a total ass of yourself.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, it's not good times, but it sort of can be funny if you just like fuck with yourself a lot in your poetry or something. Hopefully. I've never read this anywhere, actually. I read this a long time ago. This is called My Lab Rat Pride Has Had a Bad Year. Hey, yeah, this is testing, so I'm really testing the lab rat. I appreciate you laughing already, all right? My pride now has 4 ears. 2 grew in the soles of its forehands, so now its whole face ticks to the sound of scraping cage interior, pulsing in its third eye, which recently sprouted from the lip of its upper lip, minuscule and easily mistakable for the herpes virus. I'm the only one it screws in. I'm clean as a sex shop in Mormon, Utah, so it's definitely just a third eye. Dust mite-sized resentments and what if swirl past my pride, snarling fuck up at me and come back at my ex, which sounds like and respectively, since my pride keeled over in its vertiginous myopia for my self-pity and love for the scientists who dissected me as a hideous experiment in prolonged suffering. The last, I swore it would be the last time, and scratched through her latex squealing, can we please just be friends? Thank you. Yeah,
I like it.
I'm glad you like that. All right, here's one. Here's one I'm workshopping. Yeah. So for me, like a lot of there's people think of like risk in sharing poetry a lot of times as like the topic, you know. But for me, it's very scary to share something that I don't think is done yet. But I think of it as a valuable part of my editing process, as much as I frequently regret it in the immediate aftermath. So I'll try to do something I really feel a little more confident after this. But this is something I was working on today, so it feels good to give it to you. And it's taken from a line in the first poem I read, what the chaplains asked me. This is a list of ways my dad was beautiful. In the photo of my beach birthday in elementary school, he looks like he dumped out his entire bucket list and made a sandcastle. In 6th grade, I mentioned seeing a boy get bullied, and my dad got serious, like he was going to scold me, and then asked that I always say hi and try and be his friend. When he was a boy, pretending to eat $1 left his lungs permanently constipated with polio, but didn't cost a morsel of his silliness. No one talked about how exhausted he looked because he listened like Richard Simmons doing jumping jack push-ups. The Guinness World Record holder for longest held eyebrow furrow. My dad listened like you were more than any problem, but anyone could be lifelong illness. His dating advice, ask about them. Everyone thinks they're interesting, so you seem intelligent. It's practical. He liked to introduce me as his #1 client or son. I never knew which one, when, why. Your court-appointed attorney for 35 years and 17 days, the end of his opening statement, and you have my word. When I have nothing more to say, I'll stop talking. He could do it and make you laugh. Maybe you're thinking about how he's dead or something. I thought that was a funny line, but I just wrote it today, so whatever. Unbreedable Scrabble board savant. I visualized beating him once before my worst loss. For his greatest, maybe his only comeback. Imagine him as an elated loser. Over the fireplace we couldn't light for the flammability of his oxygen supply, he had me drape the shirt I designed commemorating his last fantasy baseball championship. Held down with the Cellar Dweller Awards, a glove cradling an 8-ball, a batless batter mid-whiff. Reading with ESL second graders twice a week for 8 years, his retirement paradise. Charitable contributions at his memorial created an endowment of Wizard of Oz's. Anti-racist, anti-misogynist, pro-Palestinian Jew. He kept friends he disagreed with. Pump fake was his favorite basketball move. He woke me for school blasting John Philip Sousa marches full volume. The mute button, he stayed at the start of commercial breaks, is the greatest modern invention. And then we waited. He stopped for pedestrians who weren't even in the crosswalk yet. I hated that. He took forever making eggs on Sundays that tasted better than they were. He raved over my mediocre soup. He was kind to my mom after the divorce. I loved him yelling, "Play ball!" after the national anthem when there wasn't any ball game. I hated when he'd say he was proud of me. I think of how little money I make. That I never made him a grandpa, never cured his disease, felt impatience as often as compassion for his body. I was the only one not laughing at his relentless wit. How he didn't like my morbid sarcasm or understand my depression, but wanted to lift it just as much as I wanted to give him breath. All he meant was I'm a mensch to everyone who lives outside my skin. When the regret hits, I try and think about who I can help and say something kind to myself. Sometimes it's just, my dad was so beautiful.
There's no way I'm as ugly as I feel. Thank you.
Wow. About 5 minutes.
You guys okay? Right? Is that 5 minutes? All right.
I'm happy.
A lot of this is super depressing. That's really messed up that you're happy right now, Tanger.
Well,
I'm judging you.
it's a long story there.
Yeah. All right, I'm using my time. What am I doing?
That's all right.
This, on the other hand, was easily the easiest moment I've ever lived, and as it should be and would be for anybody. My Instagram friend with the most Instagram friends didn't just like my photo. She commented the best compliment I have ever been liked with, even in real life, from people I've actually met, whose words have the weight of hanging out and being there for each other, whereas my Instagram friend with the most Instagram friends, her pictures are worth 1,000 shared hours and hundreds of Instagram shares, and like way over 1,000 people agree she fucking slays. She's the type of human who could look a zombie in the face with such life force. It would find itself more nostalgic than hungry, longing for its own brains and heart, for the moments that used to sync up, and it existed like a motherfucker, like all the rest of the time was worth it. I hope you like that. The person that commented on my photo likes it, and that's really gonna get me through other people not liking it, you know. But it seemed like okay. Cool. All right, I'm gonna do a very short one and then like a medium length one to finish off. Okay.
You're the doctor.
Huh?
You're the doctor.
I'm the doctor.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been trying to place who your voice reminds me of, because it's
Bob.
Bob.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. So this is a real short one. I came up in like the slam scene, so it's really much more exciting to me right now when I write something that takes 30 seconds to read, which I think this probably does. 3 months later, Grandpa dies too. That tone of my introduction was a little off, huh? Sorry. He had moved to hospice and had said goodbye the day before. I read him box scores like I'm told my dad read to my mom's belly throughout her labor with me. Talked about the Warriors' first loss in months and how happy I was he finally got to see his Cubbies win, while my aunt and my grandma pretended to read until I stopped, and Grandma closed her book and told me I helped because the gurgling stopped when I talked. She smiled like my father when he watched me change a light bulb he couldn't anymore, and part of me wanted to extinguish forever, and another I thought I had lost flickered. Thanks.
Nice.
Right. You know what? This is everything I brought. This works. I was gonna do a memorized like slammy poem, but it's really nice. You know, this space feels so good with pages. I love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Stepping in.
Really grateful. This is an apology letter to the man I cried next to all the way from Oakland to LA. I'm so sorry. You're fleeced. Did my feelings wash out? They did though, right? For 10 hours on a 1-hour flight. That's cat ear math. Never told you anything about me. Like that I'm crazy for the superior pet. Or asked your name. Nobody wants that though, yeah? Just to not get projectile feelings all over the whole flight. Or at all, I know. Sorry, sir. Sir feels apologetic. Subservient even. Like I owe you, deserve some smallness for how overly emotional I was. One worthless armrest between us in violation of the most sacred masculine proverb, thou shalt never cry. Or at least hide it, never out in public, not in the sky of all places where a poet might say, God's tears mourn precisely such destructive social norms. I wouldn't say that. Not the God part, anyway. I'm not a fan of dogma so much as felines and what? Feeling whatever you are. I say you are what you feel. And you were shut up! never even saw your face, but felt it clenched like a fist ready to punch on the precipice of budding, my nose running like you couldn't. You just sat there taking my catharsis, and I thought, that is a man who has never cried in public, unless his sports team did something impossible. And still, just one tear he played off his extraocular itch as I snapped out of it. Can I get a tomato juice? I called after the stewardess who passed you something hard I should have offered to pay for, but didn't want to look at you. You looked displeased peripherally. That's when I remembered we always got tomato juices on flights to LA. My girlfriend, who just became my ex-girlfriend, and I'd have to have 1.5 because she was just trying to be a cute couple. She didn't even like to. She didn't like me anymore! Then I was crying toward you, and I couldn't see or hear anything but your silent silhouette, which appeared as the specter of my self-hate and blame for what happened, a rigid smear of you clarifying it wasn't that she left or I became suicidal, but how hard I fought it, how ashamed and scared of loneliness and shame and softening you couldn't escape in the air. Seatmate, I know how unbearable that is. Like falling with only the parachute, pretending you aren't. Thanks so much, you guys. Appreciate it. I got a couple more readings I'm doing this week if you're interested. There's a really eclectic festival that I've done a couple times. It's mostly dancing. If you like dancing.
The dancing poetry.
Particularly if you like watching dancing, you're not gonna. You probably shouldn't dance.
I probably won't.
Okay.
You like the dancing poetry festival? The dancing poetry festival?
It's just they have like musicians and they have dancers, and there the two shall meet. No, it would be. I actually tried to hook up with my dancing friend for this, but he's out of town. Maybe someone will do that, but I'm gonna do poems without paper at that and watch a lot of dancers. It's called. It's an African word that's hard for me. Mbongwe Square. I can write that down for you, and it's easy to find on the Facebook or Google.
What's the date?
That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'm doing poems on Friday and Saturday. Yeah, it's
okay.
this week.
All right.
If you hadn't heard all about it. Okay, thanks so much.
Ask about that. Give him one more.
Great. I love it. So just so you know, we have a second half. It's a great second half. We have Gaia, Zane, Martin Joseph, Antoinette Payne, Joe Pasquale, Greg Pont, Garrett Murphy, Alyssa Miller, all in one package. So I'm going to turn that off so that you don't have to worry about me being recorded and having the CIA come here and bust your ass. But other than that, talk to him about that event. And can you have a book with you?
Yeah, it's just an advanced thing. The new book will be out.
Okay, well, talk to him, talk to him, talk to you, talk to him, talk to her, talk to me, and schmooze. We'll be back in about 5-7 minutes.
I'm gonna pause this thing here.